Did I ever tell you how lucky you are? By Dr. Seuss. When I was quite young and quite small for my size, I met an old man in the desert of Dries, and he sang me a song I will never forget. Well, at least, I haven't forgotten it yet. He sat in a terribly prickly place, but he sang with a sunny, sweet smile on his face. When you think things are bad, when you feel sour and blue, when you start to go mad, you should do what I do. Just tell yourself, Ducky, you're really quite lucky. Some people are much more, oh, ever such much more, so muchly, much more unlucky than you. Be glad you don't work on the Bungle Bung Bridge, and they're building across Boomber Bay at Bum Ridge. It's a troublesome world, though the people who are in it are troubled with troubles almost every minute. You ought to be thankful, a whole heaping lot, for the places and people. You're lucky you're not. Just suppose, for example, you lived in Gazat and got caught in the traffic at Zat Highway 8. Or suppose, just for instance, in Little Gazette, your bedroom up here and your bathroom up there. Suppose you were poor Herbie Hart, who has taken his thumb drum bum blader apart. He never will get it together, I'm sure. He will never know if that glick or the goot fits into the scrux or the schnux or the snoot. Yes, Ducky, you're lucky. You're not Herbie Hart, who has taken his thumb dim bum blader apart. Think they work you too hard? Think of poor Allie Shard. He has to mow grass in his uncle's backyard, and it's quick growing grass, and it grows as he mows it. The faster he mows it, the faster it grows. And all of his stingy old uncle will pay for shoving that mower around in that hay is a piffless pay of $2 a day, and Allie can't live on such piffless pay. So, he has to paint flagpoles on Sundays and grooves. How lucky you are you don't live in his shoes. And poor Mr. Bix, every morning at 6, poor Mr. Bix has his bofin to fix. It doesn't seem fair, it just doesn't seem right. But his bofin just seems to go slump every night. It slumps in a heap, sadly needing repair. Big fixes it due to the local night air. It takes him all day to unslump it, and then the night air comes back and it slumps once again. So don't you feel blue, don't get down in the dumps. You're lucky you don't have a bofin that slumps. And while we're at it, consider the schlotz, the crumple-horned, web-footed, green-bearded schlotz, whose tail is entailed with unsolvable knots. If he isn't muchly more worse off than you, I'll eat my umbrella. That's just what I'll do. And you're lucky indeed you don't ride on a camel. To ride on a camel, you sit on a whammel. A whammel, is a sort of a saddle held on by a button that's known as a faddle. And boy, if you unwhammel, faddle gets loose, I'm telling you, Ducky, you're gone like a goose. And poor Mr. Potter, T crosser, I dotter, he has to cross T's and he has to dot I's, and an I in a tea factory out in Van Nuys. Oh, the jobs people work at. Out west near Hatch, there's a hatcher, bee watcher. His job is to keep both his eyes on the lazy town bee. A bee that is watched will work harder, you see. Well, he watched and he watched, and in spite of his watch, the bee didn't work any harder. Not watch. So then somebody said, our old bee watching man just isn't bee watching as hard as he can. He ought to be watched by another hatcher. The thing that we need is a bee watcher. Well, the bee watcher watched the bee watcher, and he didn't watch well, so another hatcher has come to watch a watcher, and already all the hatchers who live in hatcher are watching a watcher watching the watcher that's watching the bee who you're not a watcher, you're lucky, you see. And how fortunate you're not Professor DeBreeze, who has spent the past 32 years, if you please, trying to teach Irish ducks how to read Javanese. And think of the poor puffing Pugelhorn players who have to parade down the Pugelhorn stairs every morning to wake up the Prince of Poohbauken. It's awful how often the Pugels get broken. And oh, just suppose your poor Harry Hadow, try as he will, he can't make any shadow. He thinks that perhaps something's wrong with his giz, and I think that by golly, there probably is. And the poor brothers Bazoo, suppose your hair grows like theirs happens to do. You think you're unlucky? I'm telling you, Ducky, some people are muchly, oh, ever so muchly more unlucky than you. And suppose you lived in the forest in France, where the average young person just hasn't a chance to escape from the perilous pants-eating plants, but your pants are safe. You're a fortunate guy. You ought to be shouting, how lucky am I? And speaking of plants, you should be greatly gladish you're not a Farmer Falkenberg's 17th radish. And you're so lucky you're not Gucky Gown, who lives by himself 90 miles out of town in the ruins of Ronk, Ronka's rather run down. And you're so lucky you're not a left sock left behind by mistake in the caverns of Croc. Thank goodness for all the things you are not. Thank goodness you're not something someone forgot and left all alone in some punkerish place like a rusty tin coat hanger hanging in space. That's what I say, ducky. Don't grumble, don't stew. Some critters are much, oh, ever so much more unlucky than you. Did I ever tell you how lucky you are?